World War II was not a sudden explosion of violence. It was a slow and dangerous storm, built over years of fear, ambition, and silence. When the war finally erupted, it did not ask who was guilty or innocent. It consumed soldiers, civilians, cities, and entire generations. After World War I, the world promised itself that such destruction would never happen again. But promises alone were not enough. Many nations were exhausted, economies were broken, and people were desperate for stability. In this fragile environment, extreme ideas began to grow. Germany was one of the countries most deeply affected. The humiliation of defeat and economic collapse left its people searching for someone to blame and someone to follow. Adolf Hitler understood this anger. He spoke not of peace, but of power, revenge, and national pride. Slowly, fear was turned into loyalty, and loyalty into obedience. While Germany rebuilt its military in secret, and then openly, the rest of the world watched but hesitated. Leaders feared another war, so they chose compromise instead of confrontation. Each warning sign was ignored, and each step of aggression was met with silence. This hesitation would cost millions of lives. In 1939, the illusion of peace finally shattered when German forces crossed into Poland. The speed and brutality of the attack shocked the world. Within days, Europe was once again at war. What followed was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Germany's armies moved with terrifying efficiency. Tanks rolled through borders, aircraft darkened the skies, and cities fell in weeks instead of years. France collapsed, and much of Europe came under Nazi control. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire continent would fall. Britain stood alone, facing constant bombing. Night after night, cities burned, yet the population refused to surrender. Ordinary people became symbols of resistance, proving that war is not fought only by armies, but by entire societies. In the East, Hitler made one of the most critical decisions of the war by attacking the Soviet Union. This invasion turned the conflict into a struggle of survival on a scale never imagined. Soldiers fought not just enemies, but hunger, cold, and exhaustion. The land itself became a weapon. At the same time, the war expanded across Asia and the Pacific. Japan pursued its own vision of dominance, conquering territories and clashing with Western powers. When Japanese forces attacked Pearl Harbor, the United States was pulled into the conflict. The war now truly involved the entire world. Factories replaced fields, and nations transformed their economies into engines of war. Men went to the front lines, while women filled factories, hospitals, and support roles. Science and industry advanced rapidly, but always in the service of destruction. As the fighting continued, humanity witnessed one of its darkest realities. The Holocaust revealed how ideology can erase morality. Millions were killed not for what they did, but for who they were. These crimes were hidden behind walls and lies, but their impact would echo forever. Slowly, the balance of power began to shift. The Allies learned, adapted, and pushed back. The invasion of Normandy marked a turning point, opening a path toward the liberation of Europe. In the East, Soviet forces advanced relentlessly, absorbing unimaginable losses but refusing to stop. By 1945, Germany was collapsing from within. Cities were reduced to rubble, supply lines were broken, and morale was gone. When Hitler died, the regime he built collapsed with him. Europe was finally free but deeply wounded. In the Pacific, the war continued with brutal intensity. Battles were fought island by island, each one costing thousands of lives. To avoid a prolonged invasion, the United States made a decision that would change history forever. Atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In seconds, entire cities vanished. The power unleashed was beyond comprehension. Japan surrendered, and World War II finally came to an end. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with grief and disbelief. The aftermath of the war revealed a broken world. Millions were homeless, economies lay in ruins, and survivors carried invisible scars. Yet from this devastation came determination. Nations came together to form the United Nations, hoping cooperation could prevent future catastrophe. Two new superpowers emerged, each armed with weapons capable of ending civilization. The world entered a new era where peace depended not on trust but on fear. The lessons of World War II were learned, but never fully resolved. World War II was not just about victory or defeat. It was about choices. Choices made by leaders, nations, and individuals. Some chose courage, others chose silence, and many were given no choice at all. This war reminds us that history is shaped long before the first bullet is fired. It is shaped by ignored warnings, unchecked hatred, and the belief that someone else will stop the danger. World War II stands as a warning to humanity that the cost of ignoring injustice is always higher than the cost of confronting it. This is not just the story of a war. It is the story of humanity standing at the edge of its own destruction and surviving.